Yesterday's developments in South Korea were highly unusual. Specifically, in Busan, South Korea, a long-anticipated summit occurred between two of the world's most significant presidents, Trump, the American president, and Xi Jinping, the Chinese president. The combined economies of these two nations account for over 40% of the world's total economy, which means when they confer, the entire planet pauses to observe the outcome. Following the discussions, Trump emerged stating it was a fantastic meeting, adding that they had reached very important decisions and that a massive trade pact with Beijing could be anticipated. Xi Jinping, on his side, confirmed that a fundamental consensus existed between the two nations concerning the deal, signaling that matters are progressing toward mutual understanding. However, he also noted reservations that the Chinese leader voiced directly to Trump. He informed him that they wouldn't perpetually agree, and this is normal. He also stated that America and China must jointly shoulder their responsibilities as two major global powers. This is a highly significant declaration, as China is conveying a distinct message. It will not be subordinate to America, but will interact with it as a co-equal. Now, I will briefly explain this meeting's importance and why it creates global anxiety. To understand fully, we must, as always, pose several questions. Will Trump genuinely succeed in balancing commercial profit with the protection of American technological dominance? And does China truly require American chips? Or is it nearing self-reliance and the capacity to manufacture everything domestically? If this agreement is finalized, will it mark the start of economic peace between Washington and Beijing? Or is it just a short-lived truce before a new, very large confrontation? If you are watching us for the first time, our channel covers everything pertaining to economics, including analyses and predictions for international financial markets and all matters concerning the global economy. Quickly subscribe to the channel, and let's delve into the economic subject. The U.S.-China relationship is a complex interplay of trade, technology, and geopolitical strategy, significantly shaped by competition in emerging technologies and disputes over Taiwan. Trump aims to rebuild trade relations with Beijing, seeking an agreement beneficial for U.S. companies eager to sell to China. However, two enormous obstacles stand in the way: chips and Taiwan, forming the heart of current disputes. America perceives China nearing control of the artificial intelligence market, and whoever controls chips commands all technology. Without chips, there is no artificial intelligence, no robotics, no missiles, and no electric vehicles. Despite sanctions, China acquired chip manufacturing equipment from American firms valued at $20.7 billion last year alone. Congress attempted 4 times since last September to block American companies from selling advanced chips to China, but failed each time. This was due to pressure from technology company lobbyists, who spent over $100,000 on lobbying campaigns. The motivation is straightforward: profits, as these companies derive billions from the Chinese market. In August 2025, the Trump administration lifted restrictions on exporting certain AI chips, collecting 15% of profits from NVIDIA and AMD sales to China. This indicates a delicate path: sell and profit, but secure a portion for the state, while not alienating China. China imported semiconductors worth over $600 billion last year and will not stop until it can produce everything itself. America is caught between a rock and a hard place. Halting sales means losing billions, but permitting them risks technological dominance for China. The second challenging topic is Taiwan, with the U.S. House Select Committee on China expressing significant concern. China has stated it does not preclude the use of force to reunify Taiwan with the mainland, a rare and significant declaration. Wang Huning, a high-ranking official, emphasized that Taiwan's reunification with China would be advantageous for both parties. Taiwan, however, is prepared for any military coercion, with its military on high alert. Following his meeting with the Chinese president, Trump journeyed to South Korea, finalizing an accord. Seoul consented to pay $350 billion to America in exchange for lower customs duties and purchasing vast quantities of American oil and gas. Korean firms' investments in America would surpass $600 billion, strengthening the military alliance. Trump also authorized South Korea to construct a nuclear-powered submarine to replace its older submarines. This visit also carried a historical element, with Korea presenting Trump with symbolic gifts. The second present was the highest state order, never conferred upon any American president before, a token of esteem. However, concurrent with the visit, America was descending into a significant crisis due to a federal government shutdown. This shutdown, entering its 29th day, meant federal employees ceased working and services were halted. The SNAP program, which supplies food aid to 42 million Americans, was nearing depletion of its funds. Food banks were overflowing, and lines stretched longer, marking the most severe food crisis since the 1930s. When funds were needed to pay the Army's salaries, a workaround was found, even with a billionaire contributing $130 million. This demonstrates how cruel politics can be, with the cost borne by citizens unable to access basic necessities. The U.S.-China relationship is characterized by both cooperation and competition, navigating challenges and opportunities. After we clarified that the American government was in a shutdown state due to disputes between Republicans and Democrats, and people were genuinely beginning to suffer, the matter progressed to an entirely different phase. Ordinary citizens were the ones propping up the government. Imagine, in New Jersey, food banks began delivering food parcels to individuals whom the government had left without income. In Washington, D.C., a kitchen run by a charity named World Central Kitchen, which typically operates in war zones and disaster areas, mobilized to cook and provide food to federal employees left in the lurch without support. These are things no one discusses, or the dark side. First point. This deal is not merely submarines and investments. This is the formation of an American-Asian military-economic axis opposing Chinese and Russian influence. South Korea is shifting from the position of a hesitant nation to that of a vital partner on the front line. This signifies that America is redirecting its security center of gravity away from Europe and the Middle East. This is a strategic reorientation that turns the page on old conflicts and starts a new era labeled to pivot to Asia and the Pacific. And whoever fails to grasp this will awaken to find themselves excluded from the game. Second point, America does not distribute nuclear submarine technology to just anyone. This is not selling technology. It is authorizing entry into the military elite club, which only 6 countries belong to. And this authorization implies that America views Korea as a direct extension of its own power, and this invites other nations in the Arab world to contemplate making massive concessions to join the same club. This is not hyperbole, because the Gulf is currently seeking the same type of influence through defense and technological sectors. Third point, what occurred in Korea was not a protocol visit. This was a trial run for Korea to evolve into a regional hub for convening allies and forging blocs. It is not improbable to envision an Asian summit later featuring Korea, Japan, India, and America, with all the associated competition. All of this reshuffles everything in supply chains, energy, and maritime shipping, and this impacts the Gulf ports and our transport channels because the rivalry for maritime trade routes will intensify. Observe China's Silk Road and note how America is countering it. Fourth point, the visit served as a genuine test for the notion of unconditional partnership. America did not inquire about freedoms, the press, or anything similar in Korea. They discussed business, and this validates that we are entering an era of overt transactions, technology for dependency, influence for investments, protection for loyalty. What transpired during Trump's visit to South Korea was not simply an official summit. It was a meticulously planned move. The Koreans brought Trump, welcomed him like royalty, and gave him a golden crown, as we mentioned. In the realm of politics, these symbols are not mere pleasantries. They are unambiguous messages. The unambiguous message is that we regard you as significant and that you are aligned with us in all matters. This is the message, but what is the actual objective? Investment. South Korea declared its plan to inject billions in investments into America, and this is not motivated by affection for Trump or America at all. This is a game of interests. The Koreans aim to fortify their economic ties with America to lessen their reliance on China, particularly given the tensions in the South China Sea and North Korea's aggressive nuclear trajectory. But they also aspire to be strong allies of Washington against any northern or Chinese threat. The specifics of the deal they are discussing are not entirely public, but the mere mention of transferring nuclear submarine technology signifies a massive strategic escalation. These nuclear submarines are not trivial. They are a formidable deterrent force, and this means South Korea is entering a new, potent balance race in the region. This means America is not just selling armaments or securing military bases. It is transferring sophisticated technology to allied nations, and this could deeply concern China. So how does this affect us in the Middle East? First, economically, if this deal materializes, it will sharpen South Korea's appetite to broaden its investments in other nations. This includes countries maintaining strong relationships with America, such as the UAE or Saudi Arabia, which might profit from technological partnerships or joint industrial ventures. These ventures could particularly focus on energy and defense tech, reflecting a broader trend where nations strategically maneuver alliances to enhance their economic and security positions. Every action like this can generate opportunities for our nations to participate in a new global economic landscape. Second, security-wise, South Korea's admission into the nuclear submarine club could alter the landscape of global security alliances. This demonstrates America's readiness to transfer sensitive technology to its allies, an unprecedented move as the U.S. has historically guarded this technology closely. This opens the possibility for nations like the UAE, for example, to ask for the same consideration, especially if they can establish themselves as a dependable strategic partner. Consequently, there could be a transformation in the concepts of naval deterrence in the Gulf, with nuclear-powered submarines offering superior endurance. Finally, politically, Trump is wielding the visit as a domestic political tool, telling the American electorate, "I have restored America's stature and brought back investments and jobs." This very strategy could be replicated with our countries, meaning we might witness America directing more attention to Gulf nations before elections or to secure backing on specific issues. This demands that we be more astute in our negotiations, understanding the political motivations behind such engagements. South Korea consented to receive nuclear submarine technology in return for opening its doors wider to American influence. This compels us to ask how far nations are willing to forfeit some of their sovereign independence in return for access to advanced technology. This introduces a very perilous scenario for the Middle East, particularly for countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE, which possess vast technological ambitions. Acquiring these advanced technologies in the New World Order necessitates sovereign concessions, whether via the presence of bases, intelligence pacts, or even submitting to American oversight. So, are we prepared to engage in this game, for example? And do we possess the skill to negotiate without losing? Secondly, the resurgence of the businessman-president philosophy, which Trump exemplified during this visit, illustrates that he is not operating as a chief of state, but as a deal manager. A mentality that operates in terms of, you purchase submarines, you receive technology, you invest, we assure your protection. This is a mindset that is simultaneously dangerous and enticing for Gulf countries because it allows for direct agreements without political ideology. If this evolves into an official doctrine in American politics, not limited to Trump, it implies that the Middle East could interact with America with a business model approach instead of the democratic model, meaning we revert to the pay-to-play concept, but in an official and transparent fashion. If this is your first time watching us, our channel discusses everything related to economics, from analyses and forecasts for global financial markets, and everything related to the global economy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive all new updates as they are published.